was a lie.
Exactly. That's the goal. But becoming more and more evident that this is just an elaborate hoax that I've been playing for many years now.
I love it.
we gotta keep this shit alive for sure.
I'm a firm believer that nothing that we do during quarantine matters.
Hell yeah! Look at my head.
I feel like I mean, obviously this is like a really privileged thing to be able to say.
No, yeah, I've already murdered 6 people.
I believe that. I believe that should be true.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, come on, headphones. You are connected. Just make the music do the thing. That sounded like a fancy. Come on. Talking to me in my ears? Talking to me in my ears? Nope.
Ooh.
Does this every single time. I have to like turn it off and turn it back on.
I mean, your audio sounds pretty good even without them.
Does it? I have this beautiful new set, which is totally not my basement and is a beautiful, fabulous, fancy studio. But I had been doing it on those because, we have a small house and we have a new baby and shuffling around the house, trying to like give Brooke as much space as possible so that they don't feel stuck in the one room.
Yeah.
Since I'm down here in the basement, I can make as much noise as I want. It doesn't even matter.
This is Dad's time. This is Dad's basement.
This is my man cave. I have like such a weird aversion to anything with like gender on it. So I just have always hated terms like man cave. But
I appreciated you saying man cave in a botanical shirt, actually.
Oh, man cave.
Yeah. That's like, if you've ever played like apples to apples with me, the key to winning when I'm around is just as absurd of a juxtaposition as you can put together. It's typically, so like, a man and a man shouting man cave while wearing a shirt with some oriental poppies on it is quite nice.
I feel like
we know, we were at Midwest Gathering, we know.
Yeah. You all know.
I was Heather and I were talking before this, or like messaging over Facebook, and I was just like, we have to make sure that drag queens come up at some point. And I gotta say, one of the best memories of any workshop I've been to was the look on you, not the drag queens, the look on your face while the drag queens were doing their thing.
I've
been to some drag. I feel like they should just hire you to be at drag.
I'm an exceptionally good hype woman at any kind of drag. And I am like an obscenely good tipper at a drag show. I remember I was in New Orleans and the like group text with my cousins is blowing up and I don't know how to, I'll just turn off the alerts on my phone.
Yep.
Also
you want a Mac?
Yeah.
Go to the little lines in the top right of your screen. You can turn on Do Not Disturb mode on your computer too.
This is fine. No one will talk to me other than them. So I'll just put them all on Do Not Disturb. But yeah, I went to a drag show in New Orleans a few years back and, typically, drag shows are in bars and stuff like that. And they have, pre-wrapped $20 in ones pre-wrapped. So you go to the bar and you give them your 20s, they give you your singles. Most people get, 20, maybe $40. I go to this drag show in New Orleans. I lay $100 in 20s on the bar and I say, I need singles. And the guy goes, for how much? Like, how much of this do you want in singles? And I was like, I need singles. And I just pushed all of it towards him.
The dramatic push from like a poker.
Yeah. It's just because I want them close to me. And that's how you do it, is you give them $1 and then they come close to you. I just want them as close as possible, as much as possible. So I will blow like $10-12 a song. It's bad, but you're not alone in enjoying that experience at Midwest Gathering. We did afterwards, on Instagram, did the little question thing where it was like, what was your favorite part of Midwest Gathering? And multiple people said, watching Heather watch the drag show.
Yeah.
So there was a point where I fell down from joy and knocked over 7 chairs. It was amazing. So yeah.
Midwest Gathering is the only workshop I've ever gone to in all these years. And so you've set a precedent for normal.
Yeah.
You're gonna go to some big fancy thing in California with 400 people. You're like, and so when's the drag show?
How come all the men are just dressed like men here? This is dumb. Yeah.
By the way, I was supposed to go to All You Witness on the 20th of April here, and I was so stoked for that.
Oh. They're all the best
It is what
people.
it is. Like, of course it
Yeah.
can't happen. They host the thing in their homes,
What is,
Yeah.
Mike, what is that?
Oh, you
That-
witness?
It's Win and Nate Kaiser and who are the other ones, Mike? Do you know?
This is a
Can't
workshop.
remember.
Parsons.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what it. Yeah.
Yeah, look up their account. They're super great for sure.
Here, I'm
Yeah.
looking at this in. Whoa, where's the chat? There's the chat. All you witness. So anybody who wants to dump anything in the chat on the bottom or I don't know what platform you're seeing this on, but for me it's on the bottom right.
Yeah.
I'll take those and transcribe those into kind of the show notes for after the fact. So is there anything that you want people to remember or want me to write up or look up? You can just drop them in there or just any questions. Yeah, beautiful. Cool.
Oh, nice.
So we usually have some stragglers pop in, and then as I said before, this is all going to be recorded and put online and shared in every possible social platform feasible because it's 2020 and that's how we do.
If this shit is
I'm so
not on
happy.
LinkedIn by tomorrow morning, I'm gonna be pissed off.
I totally forgot LinkedIn was a thing. Are y'all on TikTok now?
I don't make TikTok.
No.
Yeah.
No, I'm not 15.
Yeah.
I feel like to go viral on TikTok, you can't. Yeah, there we go. I feel like to go viral on TikTok, you have to be like a 12-year-old. I saw like a 9-year-old who's like wants to be an artist and is drawing, and the video was just like, please don't scroll past. Watch my video. I want to be an artist. So give me 100,000 likes, and she's at like 500,000 followers now.
Jesus.
Yep.
I like the videos where it's just someone going, stop scrolling and go to bed. Because like there are people who just make those videos specifically, and every time one of them comes up, I'm like, okay, and I will just do. But like those are my. I love that there's a whole genre of people being like, that's enough TikTok for tonight. Go to bed.
I gotta say actually hold on, Mike. Actually, anybody who hasn't been on here before, if you don't do Zoom a lot and you're on your computer, top right, there's the gallery view. Highly recommended, and that way it's not just the person talking. We all get to see each other. Christian, you should totally talk. I know you. You're my buddy. You just bought a medium format Fuji, and I'm a little bit jealous. Just a little bit.
Can we meet your dog?
You're like, screw the camera. Give me that doggy.
Here's one of them.
Come here.
You got big dogs, right, Christian?
Yeah. There's one. Athena.
I have a Newfoundland, so I am also.
Oh,
in the
you have a
big dog
Newfie?
club.
Nice.
Love Newfies.
Newfies are the best. You can see the other one. He's back there sleeping in the.
Oh.
Is this Saint Bernard?
Yeah.
Aww.
I know Christian from North Carolina. Brooke and him met at Photo Rehab in Asheville, and we have been going down to Asheville for like 6 years. We didn't go this year. We had tickets, or we had an Airbnb scheduled, but we just ended up not doing it because of obvious reasons. Are we your mirror, Heather?
I think I'm getting a stress pimple on account of the world ending.
Tell me about it. I have a few of those. It's okay. So Christian and I have been buddies for a long time. Christian's a good dude. I'm happy you're here, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
I was going to say, for all of the talk of people disliking Instagram and the algorithm and all that trash, TikTok is killing the community part of it. Like, you get on there and like the people in like kind of reusing other people's, I don't know the words for TikTok, like, you know, it's like regram for Instagram or like reposting. I don't know what it is to like reuse somebody's audio and post your own. That when you get in there, it feels like people having a conversation. And Instagram doesn't feel like that anymore. It feels like a bunch of people shouting, "Look how great I am!" And TikTok feels like a community. And I don't know how to appropriately utilize it for like my work. But if I see I see very few like decent photographers. I see a lot of like commercial photographers on there. But if anybody has like good photo TikTok accounts that is just like someone doing something interesting, I want to see them because I want to spend time there. I just don't.
Yeah.
I only consume right now.
I feel like such a dick, but I never scroll my feed on Instagram anymore. But I love watching stories just for, and I post the dumbest stories, and I'm quite often very stoned, and also quite often just like no mate. Like anyone who follows me on Instagram is just like, oh, that girl's a wreck.
But it's real, and I feel like that's why story has taken over. I feel like that part does feel a lot more conversational and
Yes.
more like community. To me, that little strip on the top of Instagram where the
Mhm.
stories live, like, is Instagram, and
Yes.
that is just how I like get new followers.
I know.
'Cause
I always
apparently
feel
people
weird.
do- Good.
Yeah, I feel weird when, because I believe in keeping like my business and my, like, trying to keep a partition between my business and my personal life, especially because for so many photographers, like, we are our brand.
Yeah.
And so I have like a personal Instagram and a business Instagram. And it's funny, I notice when I'm like, if I get on stories in my business Instagram, I have like my business voice that I use when I'm like doing consults and stuff like that. And every now and then a client will find my personal one and follow me over there. And like, it's just, it always makes me wonder, like, especially when it happens before their wedding, I'm like, man, this is probably good, because on wedding days, I am not like the buttoned up, polished, professional. Like, I'm not a mess, but I'm also just like, my goal is just to make people be comfortable around me. And I think being a dumbass is probably one of the easiest ways to do that. And so I always wonder if it's better for them to have gotten a little peek at that,
100%, without question, right? Like, your people want to see your trash. They want to see the real person that's going to show up on their wedding day.
Yeah.
Just like, and I have to ask, who are we talking to now? Are we talking to dumbass, or are we talking to like to business, Heather? And
This will be the dumbass. Yeah.
okay. I want to hear your business voice. Give me your business
Business Heather works off of a script. Like, I feel so, like, it's so true that like every time I do consults, I say the same things every single time, and stuff like that. So it's like, if you, wanted to ask me how I, approach shooting a wedding day, I will quickly morph into, well, hopefully my website and my blog and stuff is doing a good job of sharing this. But I would say, for the most part, I consider the way I shoot to be really candid and natural. But I always say, I might be photojournalistic, but I'm not National Geographic. We don't have to, like, literally, like, just like the same way every single time.
Do you try to not have like multiple consults in the same day? Because I have caught myself when we were staying with my in-laws in Florida just before quarantine, and we did like 3 wedding meetings, like on the back patio, on the lanai, by the pool, and it was great. But I was trying to like maximize my time away from work, so I was like 1, 2, 3, hit them. And those jokes feel so much worse the third time you say them on the same day. And you're like, like when you say like, it's not National Geographic, you're like, oh my God, I'm such a goddamn hack. I can't believe it. Just shoot me. Oh, you weren't there for the first 2. It's fine. It's fine. You think I'm hilarious.
Yeah, it's fine. You don't know. You don't know. I mean, I obviously really highly value being funny and my sense of humor and stuff like that. And I am not above if a joke works, like, every audience that I get is going to get that joke, like get some version of it or anything like that. So I think but also I want to be like, like, I don't often schedule 3 meetings on the same day, just because I do want to feel fresh when I'm going into a meeting or whatever. So that particular circumstance has not come up for me yet. But if a joke works, I'm going to make it work for as long as I can get it. Yeah, she's gonna get paraded out there until,
I have one with a groomsman where it's like the whole leftover right traditional thing that's like been going on for years.
Oh yeah.
Groomsman photos. I was shooting with Karen Middleman. I don't know if this was like 8 years ago in Grand Rapids, and she was like, don't have the guys do that because it looks like they're covering their boners. And ever since then, I'll have the guys do that, and then I'll say it looks like they're covering their boners, and then I get the greatest reaction and laugh. And there was one wedding I shot last summer where it didn't get a laugh. I was like, what is going on?
That's the worst.
Were they
All
just
the girls off to the side were laughing. I'm like, guys, loosen up.
Were they just not funny?
Yeah.
Seriously, no, that happens.
Yeah. It's so interesting to like, and this is, I think our society overall really highly values, and I should say overvalues, having a sense of humor. Because the truth is, just not everyone is funny. And some people who are not funny, when they try to be funny, it comes off not good. And like sometimes comes off mean and stuff like that. And I think there are so many great things that you can be other than funny. Like, and so, but there's so much pressure to be funny. But it's really interesting because like occasionally I have a couple where it's just like, you know, being funny and goofy is just not their thing. And I have to find a different way to work with them. And it's all, I'm always, it's like so interesting. And it's like, it's completely natural and doesn't feel weird for who they are. But for me, I'm just like, wait, why aren't my dick jokes working? Like, you know, like
that was this wedding to a T. I went home feeling like, oh my gosh, that was such a weird day. But then I made a blog post of it and I was like, this is one of my best weddings.
Yeah. How about the couples that are like, we're just not affectionate? That's always, that one always gets me, because our work, it is so much about like authenticity and intimacy. And then to have someone who is like authentically non-intimate is fascinating to me. I have a couple that I've shot their family pictures like a lot, and they're just like not a super affectionate family, and they have kids now, and they're just like, they're like, if you meet them, you think they're like very straight laced and you think they're like not having a good time. They're very, very sweet and they're very kind, but they've left multiple photo shoots and commented on how much fun they were having. And I was like, are you sure? Are you sure? Because I'm like, I'm giving you my A game here, and I'm getting crickets back. And then maybe they're just like processing it and being like, ha 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 ha. Whereas most people are doing it with their mouth. They're like, back of brain. That is humor.
Yes. This is humorous. I am enjoying this interaction.
Activate smile.
Yes. Yeah. It's really, I don't know. It's really interesting just because, I would not know how to navigate the world in a way that is not constantly taking the piss. I just don't know what I would do. It's just like a deeply ingrained part of me. Like, I admire sincerity so much, and it's something that I have tried to like foster in myself. Not to say that I think I'm insincere or anything, but just to express with your words something that's just sincere. Like, hey, like to be amongst a group of your friends and to be like, hey, I'm really enjoying being with all of you. Like, just to say something as simple as that feels so vulnerable and scary to me. Whereas like, if I just call them all a bunch of dickheads, that feels like a lot easier. And so like,
it's the same thing to you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I'm trying to work on just when I have the sincere thought, actually vocalizing it, and like exposure therapy, making myself more comfortable with that, since my default is to make a joke out of everything, which for the most part serves me well. But there's, you know, like anyone, there's been a few times where I'm like, shouldn't have done that. Like shouldn't have made that joke. Whoopsie, you know? And so, yeah, so I'm really trying to, because I think if you have a good sense of humor and you are funny, it is very easy to use that as a crutch. You know, it's super, if you're funny, it makes you likable very easily, and which is great. But at the same time, it's like, you know, I don't want to over-identify with even though I'm going to be super funny this whole time, don't get me wrong. But still, I don't want to like over-identify with that part to where that's like the facet of who I am, you know? Yeah.
I have a similar issue with, so my brain is always running. I like can't turn it off. And I'm constantly not only looking for I'm constantly looking for jokes. I'm constantly like trying. My brain thinks I'm a comedian. I'm not a comedian. My brain thinks I am. But I also have a similar issue with hype and with like high energy, because a lot of my portrait shoots like devolve into just like a ridiculous hype session. I get so excited by doing my craft, and I get so excited like being on set with people that have paid me to like the thing that I grew up just like screwing around with my friends taking pictures, the fact that this is my career now, I don't get over it. And the fact that like I'll be like taking someone's picture, and I take the picture, I go, oh my, and I just like burst.
Yeah.
I can't not do that, but that's not for every couple. And a lot of times what happens is like, not a lot of times, I would say 90% of my sessions I can get away just being like, hype mode the entire time.
Yeah.
But occasionally you've got a couple that's like, or a couple or a portrait that's just like super chill. And that's what the energy that they want. And that's the energy that best serves their personality, their relationship. And to come in with like this, like 11 when they need
Yeah.
a 3 does them a disservice. And so I have to catch that really early and like turn that switch. But that enthusiasm is the same thing with humor, is that it kind of automatically makes people go like, oh, this guy's fun. This is really fun. Like we should hang around each other and I'll pay you. And you're like, that's great, but you don't need all of that. You don't need my 11 right now. You kind of need my 2.
I do the opposite. I am not good at being the hype person for my couples always. I'll start talking about how, oh my God, the light is amazing. The light. And then I have to remind myself to be like, say something nice about the people too. They're freaked out. But oftentimes they do the exact opposite where like, especially if a couple is they're like, if I'm having trouble, like kind of breaking the shell because like you spend the first 15 minutes of any session. I always tell people like heading into engagement session, I'm like, okay, the first 15 minutes of this are going to be the worst 15 minutes of your life. Like that's, if for the first 15 minutes, your brain is on fire and you want me to die, that is normal and part of the process. It's like what I tell everyone, because a lot of my clients specifically come to me saying that they don't think they're photogenic, that they don't like being photographed.
Why does everybody say that?
Is because people who are shitty at taking photos have been taking their photos their whole life. I always go, well, of course your aunt is terrible at taking photos, but I'm really good at this. That's why you pay me thousands of dollars to do it. So don't worry about the fact that you
unless you pay your aunt $1,000 to take your picture.
Yeah, exactly. Unless your aunt's Annie fucking Leibovitz and you're still thinking like it. But normally, if I'm having trouble breaking through their shell, I'll like take a few photos and then I'll look at it and I'm just like, you guys are terrible. And then they always laugh because they know that I'm not being sincere and like that I'm not actually. And then that's like a super. If you need a good icebreaker, I should also say that if you have red hair as a woman, it's as close to white male privilege as you can get, and so you can get away with saying these like if you are mean to a person but you have red hair while you do it, they love you for it. It's incredible. And so I will just roast, do some mild roasting of my clients early on. It breaks them out of their shell. But sometimes I wish I had that, like that hype man energy for my clients and stuff like that, because I don't know. I think it would but also I hate shooting portraits. I hate it. I hate it.
What, you mean like individual portraits or like at weddings?
I don't like portraits. Like if a client comes to me and says, we're so excited on our wedding day, we have 2.5 hours for wedding party and portraits. I'm like, yay. And in my head, I'm like, fuck, like is what I'm thinking. Cause it's just like, I think it's good to have some portraits. It's good to have some solid portraits and stuff like that. But I don't actually think they matter very much. The portraits that I think matter the most are like the grips and grins with your family that you take after the ceremony. I think those actually matter. But like, I don't think fucking golden hour photos matter for shit. I think they're pretty and they're nice to look at, but I don't think they actually matter. And I've told, like, this is a thing that I will tell my clients sometimes too. It's just like, I want you at your wedding. I don't want you taking portraits. Like, I want to do that a little bit. Don't get me wrong. We should do that a little bit because you probably want those. But if I could do like a portrait-free wedding day, Mint would do it in a heartbeat. I don't like portraits because the thing that I like about photography, the thing that has brought me to this career, is that I like that the circumstances are always changing. I like that it's unpredictable. I thrive under pressure, all this sort of stuff. And portraits remove so much of the things that I actually like about doing this job, the spontaneity, the randomness, everything like that. So yeah, and so I have a hard time being hyped up during portraits because the truth is, like, I kind of just want to get them over with and go eat cocktail hour food too. Like, and so like I feel like I'm much more similar to like for most of my hetero couples, I'm much more similar to how the groom is feeling during portraits than how the bride is feeling.
How do you
most
feel about that,
relief for me on a wedding day too is having all that done. And like, say you do it all before the ceremony. like the pressure's gone. Even the ceremony, it's
Yeah.
like capture it candidly, capture what's actually happening. And we've
Yeah.
already done the stuff that I have to like, so it's like I can just be here and witness the rest of this. And it's like a little bit of sunset photos later, but then again, after that, it's just capture what's going on.
It's so
Yeah.
interesting. My bias is that I started with portraits. That's the first thing that I started shooting, which is like pictures of human beings, like one-on-one, taking pictures like one person at a time. And the first thing that blew up for us for our portrait, for our work, was our high school seniors, and using them as a vehicle to shoot like interesting, unique portraiture. And so for me, I'm like pretty much the exact opposite, where
Yeah.
I would say the most pressure for me is showing up and like getting like the events rolling and getting things moving, like the juggling. I'm like really not great at time management. I am so completely in like Brooke and I were talking today about how I don't usually know what month it is, and I can never remember what next month is and what the previous month was, because I'm here right now. So like quarantine is often like not a problem for me, because like I don't remember that I'm stuck inside, because I'm just doing the thing that I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
So for me, like there's all this movement going around, and it's like, okay, I gotta like get to cabin A, do this thing, get to cabin B, get to the ceremony, and then like I get to chill because it's just the two of us and our couple, and we're gonna go to this place that's beautiful, and then I'm in charge, and everything runs by my schedule. And then I always the one of the jokes I never don't tell at a wedding is, we're gonna be on time, but they're not gonna do anything without you. They're not going to have this wedding without you. And so if you want to spend 15 more minutes driving to that place that's a little further out, let's do it. Like somebody's going to text you and be like, yo, where are you? We want to eat. And it's like, that's fine. It's your wedding day. You get to decide if you want to like make them wait a little bit longer. So for me, I tell all my couples that we use them as like a break in your day, where like you're going to get like, you want to see all your friends and family, but we get to take a moment and like have breathing room and leave. We do two portrait sessions during every single wedding. We like by edict, like that is how we operate, because I want multiple times with them with multiple scenarios. And my couples specifically come to us for our portrait work, and we're like if I only have like, all ego aside, I am very good at what I do, and I can knock out that portrait that used to take me 2 hours in 14 minutes if I have to.
Yeah.
But I'll tell people, if you give me 15 minutes, I'll take it. If you give me an hour and a half, I'll take it. I won't need it. I don't need an hour and a half. But if you, I'll take everything you give me, and then maybe a little more.
Yeah, I think that's oh, go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
I was gonna say breaking it up is great, because
yeah,
you're not off for like 2 hours. Like, what do we do next?
Yeah.
Get some here, get some down there, and then they can enjoy their wedding day.
It's just a friendly reminder, and I love this. I've said this so many times, that this industry is so wide that all of us can be like, we can. Historically, photographers were cutthroat, and none of us would be friends, because like every wedding that I book means you don't book that wedding. But the fact that we come with completely different biases and completely different styles to the same exact industry means that like if someone comes and they want like no portraits, I know who I'm sending them to now. Like if they're just like, that's not really my thing, I'm like, unfortunately that is the thing that we do.
Yeah.
So like, I'm sorry, that's not gonna work for me.
Yeah, I think
we talked about this at Midwest Gathering, but you were saying that and I was saying the opposite, and I was like, dude, if we paired up to shoot a wedding, that would be like the best ever, because I'd be like all candy, you'd be all portrait. We would just like, and we did shoot a wedding together like 8 years ago. Probably.
My God, that was like my second year in industry. What's that, Mike?
We didn't know what the hell we were doing back then, but
yeah.
No, wow. I thought I did. I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
That cool Dutch angle. You heard of that? Where you like tilt your camera off to the side.
Now that we are all good,
that's
we all
killing.
think we're shit is the truth. It's
right.
like when we were actually shit, we thought we were amazing. And now that we're amazing, we all think we're shit. It's like,
yeah. Okay, even without pandemic, let's like raise our hands up who like on April 10th would normally be like, am I really gonna do this year? Am I really like an actual photographer? Am I any good at my job? Because every year this time of year, I'm like, am I good at this?
Oh, I'm the opposite. By the end of, not really, here's the thing. Okay. Let me formulate a thought instead
Break
of
it
just
down.
saying
Break it down
several
for us.
things to lead you into thought. My feelings on owning your own business, entrepreneurship, everything like that in general is, what is the point of doing it if you are not setting your business up in a way to where you enjoy the fuck out of what you're doing? So like, I have friends who like are so overworked, burnt out. They're like taking on, you know, way too many weddings. Their editing queue is crazy. And I'm just like, why are you even fucking doing this? You can make the same amount of money doing something with a lot less stress. If you don't like, boundary setting is so important, but setting boundaries for yourself, I think, is one of the most, and I'm going to bring it back to what you're talking about earlier, because I feel like everyone's like, why the fuck
No,
is she talking about this?
Love this.
But
I wrote that down.
point being is that I have structured my business. My max number of weddings in between April and October, which is like our peak season here in Michigan. Really, like it's May through October, but sometimes, you know, in between April and October, I will not take more than 25 weddings.
Yep.
If I get to 25, books are closed straight up.
Same.
No one's getting in there.
January,
And that is because
January. Of
yeah,
course.
you can see
Sure.
me in January, February. Fuck yeah, I'll take a paycheck in the middle of the winter. Are you kidding me? But in that window, it's 25. And that's because when I'm shooting that 25th wedding, I'm still feeling good. I'm still excited. But if I were to shoot that 26th wedding in that window, I would be fucking tired and I would be burnt out. And I know that because I have done it in the past. Like 25 is my magic happy zone. And probably as I get older and my back hurts more and more, that number is going to eke in a little bit more. But the whole thing about you being like, oh, you know, normally this time of year, are you thinking like, am I really going to do this? I am always at this time of year. And this is one of the things that makes me so sad about everything that's going on, is like, this is the time of the year where I am fucking ready to get back at it. I am like, I cannot, oh, I can't. Sorry, I just like that you were like, and there's a cat now. But yeah, like you know, tomorrow was supposed to be my first wedding of the season, and I was so excited to shoot it. And it's gonna be at Bella El Casino. It's gonna be so fun, and it was gonna be, you know, getting back into doing the thing that I really love. And the reason why I love it is because I've set boundaries in my business to where I continue to love it year after year after year. So I'm never at this point in time of the year scared about starting or anything like that. I'm like so ready to start because I go into my off season needing my off season, and I come out of my off season needing to go back to work.
All right.
It's kind of
two
yeah.
important things. One, just a clarification, because I do love my job.
Yes. No, of course.
It only takes one session for me to go,
Yeah.
oh, I missed this. Oh,
Yeah.
I
You
really missed this.
Seal.
Bring it all on. Two,
Mm-hmm.
because I had this year. What year and what volume was it that taught you 25 was your limit? Did you have like a 35 year or like a 30 year that was like, oh my God?
So it wasn't so much that, I don't remember the exact number of weddings that I shot that year, but there was a wedding where in between August and September, I shot 8 weddings, only one of which was in Michigan, and the last one was in New Zealand.
Yeah.
So I was in other states and in New Zealand like 7, or maybe it was 6 out of the 8 weddings. I can't remember. It was something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like I don't know a single destination wedding photographer that's actually fucking happy when you actually talk to them one-on-one. Like, as a person who's spoken at a lot of conferences and gets to fly to these places to speak at these things, as a relatively hometown wedding photographer, like, I consider myself very much a blue collar wedding photographer. And most of the people I'm speaking with are destination wedding photographers and are getting on 40 flights a year and stuff like that. And I can tell you what, every single one of them, when I talk to them one-on-one, is like, you got it fucking made, dude. You're like, you know, and so I don't know anyone who has done it over a prolonged period of time. Like, maybe that first year or two, it keeps being exciting. I'm in fucking Greece. I'm in south of France. I'm whatever. And then after a while, you're like, I miss my kids. I miss my bed, you know? And so,
that bed, man.
So yeah. So it was less about shooting too many weddings in one year. Cause I think the most I've ever done in between that like April to October window is like probably 32-ish or something like that. I don't know. I'm not very good at, some people keep like meticulous statistics on their business, and I really admire those people, but I am not one of them. It's easier now that I use HoneyBook, Midwest Gathering sponsor. But yeah, like it was more just that pace of like traveling to shoot constantly and things like that made me realize like, okay, I need to make sure going forward that like I got into this business because I don't consider myself like an artist first or anything like that. Obviously I am creative and I am artistic because have managed to achieve a lot of success as a photographer, but like I am much more driven by the amount of flexibility and independence that this job gives me than by any kind of creative fulfillment. And so that was the year where I was like, okay, I need to make sure going forward that my business is actually doing the thing I want it to do, which is not just growing, which is giving me the lifestyle I want, giving me the quality of life that I want. And like, if you are like, I honestly think people who are burnt out, overstressed or whatever, it's because they are not doing a good job of setting boundaries with themselves for their business. And part of it is just because we're freelancers. And so there's this scarcity, complex of like, the rug could be pulled out from you any day, but
like
it's
with
not
a
really
global pandemic.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, something like that, where it's just like, I need as much as I can get and stuff like that. But I really think you can kind of, once you are established, because early on you're hungry, you'll take anything you get. But once you are established, you need to do some soul searching and go like, how does this business actually serve me? Because just like, I don't know, you're like, if you can't manage to be happy and all of that being a wedding photographer, then like, dude, that's going to be tough. Like some people have to be fucking bankers and janitors and shit like that. If you can't manage to be happy, I should say happy in your work as a wedding photographer, then you really need to work on boundary setting in your business, I think, because our job is so, I shouldn't say this, but like, truthfully, our job is so fucking cushy and easy. I am ridiculously overcompensated for the amount of actual work that I do. Part of that is because I'm being compensated for my talent, and I'm a talented bitch and I deserve to be paid for that. But I still,
you spent years building that craft and building that talent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, all of that. I deserve to be compensated for that. But still, the amount of actual work that I like for the last, week, I've basically done nothing but breed flowers in Animal Crossing, and occasionally send an email and communicate with clients and everything that's going on, about that sort of stuff. But like, and the truth is, even in July, peak of wedding season, if I want to spend a day breeding flowers in Animal Crossing, I can normally manage it, and so yeah, I just think like,
we're lucky.
Yeah, super, super lucky.
There's so many times in the middle of the season when I will be at a portrait shoot or at a wedding, and the stress is high, and I need to be somewhere, and I've got 2 extra minutes, and so the traffic had better be good. And I will look over at Brooke and I will say, "Well, look how lucky we are. This is so like, these are our stresses. The stress is it's somebody's wedding day, and I want to make sure they have a good experience. Or it's somebody's wedding day, and I want to make sure that I'm not the stress in their life. And that stress is like me being 1 minute late for a thing, like not even a ceremony, but like, I don't know, the sunset photos or something like that."
Yeah. I always tell people during consults, like when people are considering hiring me, I always like mention like I love my job. I have very high job satisfaction, because I feel like it's nice to hear that from the person that you're hiring, that like, because I say the same thing. I was like, I get to spend, when I go to work, aside from when I'm sitting at my computer editing for like 20 hours a week, that's, that's less exciting. But when I go to the actual like wedding day, I hang out with people on one of the coolest days of their life so far. And then at the end of it, there's like a person who's like, "Would you like this piece of cake?" And I'm like, "Yes, I would. Thank you." And so like, I just have like ridiculously high job satisfaction because of that, because like why the fuck wouldn't I, you know? But that was trial and error. There were times where I was burnt out or more, suffering from massive imposter syndrome and things like that. And I still do from time, especially when it comes to speaking at conferences and stuff like that. I have the worst like imposter syndrome when it comes to that, which is just hilarious, because every time I do it, people come up to me after and are like, wow, like I had to teach a last minute in January, Jen Mower, who's going to be speaking at Midwest Gathering. She was terribly sick, and this was in her first trimester of her pregnancy. Like,
Oh, wow.
No one knew she was pregnant, basically, except for me and like a handful of other people at that point in time, because we're good friends. And she called me. She's like, I'm supposed to be teaching at a workshop in Mexico next week, and I'm being admitted in the hospital because I'm so dehydrated and sick, and I've given them your name, and will you go there and will you teach? And I was like, yeah, like I was like okay. And then like I got in like a FaceTime call with like, Alfonso and Rodrigo, who run Nomada, and like, like at first I was like, yeah, I've given my hour talk. I'll just go, whatever, I'll knock it out. And then they're like, yeah, so you teach for like about 6 hours, and then you leave a 2-hour live shoot and all this stuff. And I'm like, yep, okay. And like in the back of my head, I'm like, Jen's a good friend. You're doing this for Jen. You're doing this for Jen. But they're like, you're going to teach for 6 hours. I'm like, on fucking what? And the whole time I was there, I was feeling like, like I'm up there with like people who like won rangefinder rising star, and like, these really incredibly talented photographers who are, like shoot, being featured in Vogue and stuff like that. And I'm like, I shoot weddings in Detroit, Michigan.
You're like, what's Michigan?
Exactly, literally. But every time I teach, like after I taught this time, like someone came up to me, this like a sweet woman came up to me. She was like crying. She was like, your talk made me call my brother. Like was basically what she said. And I was just like, so, but I still, anyways, all that to say, I suffer from imposter syndrome in that regard. Not so much with shooting weddings anymore. And I think that's just because I work super hard to just make sure that actually I don't have to work very hard, but I have established boundaries with my work to where like basically if I don't feel like posting on Instagram for 2 months, guess what? I'm not going to fucking post on Instagram for 2 months. I don't give a shit. I'm already making enough money without posting on Instagram every single day and getting the likes. And then every 2 months, I'll post a photo that says, whoops, forgot to post a photo for 2 months. And then people come like, ha ha ha. And then I'm like, ha ha, see you in 2 more months, fucker. Like, it's literally what, like, if you go to my business account for my Instagram, it's hilarious because the number of posts that I'm like, whoops, forgot to post for 2 months again. And then I'll post like every day for 3 weeks because I took a day to actually schedule, and then just a 2-month hiatus again.
I've been there so many times.
Yeah, but it's just like, okay, like that, doing that, social media and stuff like that does not bring me joy. And so like, I have to be in a really particular mood to want to do that. And I'm lucky enough, I do other things in my business that I don't hate so much that I don't have to do a ton of that to hustle in that way, because I'm not getting, I don't get Instagram inquiries and stuff like that. And a lot of the people I know who like the majority of their Instagram inquiries come from Instagram, like some of their clients are shitty because their clients just want it for the gram, Yeah. And so like my clients don't want it for the gram. They want it for their gran.
Oh, that's so good. I like that. You need to make.
By the way, Heather, so I just recently listened to you were on a podcast. Oh, I forget what it was, but you were talking about like your grandma. There was a photo of your grandma like on your website, and I went to see it, and I think it's gone. Is it gone now? Did you change that?
It shouldn't be. If it's, hold on.
It was just recently when I listened to it, and I think it was kind of a podcast, but.
Is it the one where I'm talking about finding, I don't want to be like, I've been on so many podcasts, I don't even know which one you're talking about, because that's not the case, but There is, so if you go to, maybe I did take it down. Here's a fun thing is like sometimes I don't think I still have it linked. Because there
Put it in the
are,
chat.
what's
'Cause I was
that?
like, where's grandma?
Yeah, I can find it and I can put it in the chat. I probably took down the link to it just because it's super fun navigating your business as a wedding photographer after you go through a divorce. And so there was
Yeah.
probably some, and like a completely amicable and as as wonderful as a divorce can be, it was.
Yeah.
But still, it's like one of those, yeah, I don't know, I can't find it. I could have sworn I still had it linked in my bio because I thought I remembered. Whatever, who cares? But I might have taken it down.
Gotcha.
What's that?
I was gonna say if you find it later and you want to post it in the event page, that'd be helpful.
Yeah. Because there is and that's a thing that I also talk about during my hour talk that I give is basically like finding a photograph from when my grandparents were married, which like no one in my family even knew existed because I lived in my grandparents' house for 6 years. And it was still full of all their, they're both dead now. But it's full of all their stuff. So just like going through and finding that. I'll have to find, I don't know why it's not coming up when I Google, because I know the name of the blog post is like the why. But
right on.
Yeah.
It was like way up north. Was that it?
It might have been. I know I did podcasts for Way Up North. I did them for Canada Photo Convention. Like I've done a few of them. It's always like really, I don't know. That's another thing that like even like Michael asking me to be on this, and I'm like okay, like just because I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, are you gonna hear it? But yeah, I can actually show you because it's on my desk. This is the photo right here.
Oh, that's awesome.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so this yeah, this would have been basically this would have been taken just after my grandparents were married because my grandma basically ambushed my grandpa with a wedding. It's like the best, my favorite story ever. She might have been just a tiny bit pregnant, but we don't need to worry about that. I'm not sure if that's true, but sometimes when I look at the dates, I'm like, Grandpa went to the Korean War right after they got married, and Uncle Mark was really, they either really threaded that needle or she might have been a tiny bit pregnant when she went. Sorry, Grandma. But yeah, basically my grandpa was a Marine and he was in California for basic training or whatever, and they had plans to get married when he came back home after basic training, but then it was during the Korean War, so they were like, guess what, y'all aren't going home, y'all are going straight to the war. And he wrote my grandma a letter and said, we'll have to, because I actually have the letter where he says we'll have to wait until I have my first leave from the war to get married. And she read that letter, and this is the days where you had to write a letter and it took a week and a half to get to a person and whatever. And so she read that letter and she went, fuck that. And she got on a train from Michigan to California. He didn't even know she was coming out there. You couldn't send someone a text to be like, OMW, on my way. And so and so she showed up at the base where he's doing his training and essentially was just like, I'm here to marry Wayne Jowett. And that's what happened. And she slept when she got to California, she slept that night in a woman's shelter.
Wow.
Because she got there late. And so yeah, she just ambushed his ass with a fucking, I'm sure he was expecting to be, ambushed in the jungles in war, but instead it was just his Scottish girlfriend being like, "What's up? Marry me right now." And so
that's an incredible story.
Yeah, she was pretty big badass, if you ask me. She was really just a very intelligent and interesting woman, I think. So
we have similar family stories with my grandmother. We won't go into it. My grandmother was an incredible human being. We'll have to talk about that another time. But
I know.
I think we would be remiss if we didn't actually talk about the one thing that we were planning on
I said I would talk about. Yeah.
I love. I intentionally didn't derail us back onto the rails, because this was interesting. But I was just curious if you've had. It sounds like you have had a little bit of fallout from the COVID.
Oh yeah. I mean, pretty much right now, I have one May bride and groom that are like, we're holding strong. It might happen, and they have not rescheduled yet.
Yeah.
They have an amazing planner and stuff like that. So I think if they have to reschedule, it will come together for them somewhat seamlessly. But yeah, all my April, May, quite a few of my Junes, one of my Augusts has postponed. Yeah, I think, well, they're getting married here in Michigan, but they both live in California.
Yeah.
So their reason for wanting to postpone was that really to get the wedding planned, they would need to be making multiple trips back and forth between Michigan and California at a time when that might not be feasible or even allowable, or ethical, to come from Los Angeles to, here and stuff like that. So they were just like, there's too much, with going back and forth. And it was they were actually my first couple to reschedule. And so, yeah, but some of the advice that I have to give on this is some of it is unfortunately past its usefulness, because I think if at this point you haven't done some of the things that I'm going to say that I think you should have done, then you are way behind the ball. But I was sending emails to my April, May, and June clients before anyone else I knew. Yeah. Like before we were under any kind of stay-at-home orders or anything like that. Basically, I have a lot of friends in LA. Doesn't that make me sound cool? But I have a lot of friends in LA, and things started to heat up there much before, like way before they started to heat up here at all. And friends in the Pacific Northwest, because obviously Seattle was, kind of the first, point of entry for this. And so I could see the writing on the walls. So I was like, the first thing I did was, okay, what is going to be my policy about rescheduling? Because I don't think that weddings are going to be happening. So I decided what my policies were going to be. Yep. And then I communicated that to all my clients before any of them had even emailed me about rescheduling. And so that's not true. One of my clients had emailed me early on to basically their wedding, their plans for their wedding. They called their wedding off, and now they're doing like a small elopement, just family, at the end of May. But they are both physicians, and the bride specifically works in palliative care, which is basically like helping people die with dignity. Yeah. And so they work with the most, she works with the population that would be most vulnerable to this. Like it was 100% the right call for her to make, and so yeah, so they very early on were like, we're just not, we're just canceling, but we still want to do something on that day and we want you to be a part of it. So I basically said, what you've already paid in your retainer will be more than enough to cover what you have downscaled to. But if you have, if people who are, and really you should maybe be thinking about this when it comes to, I'm probably this week sending emails to my July brides. I shouldn't say brides, that's heteronormative of me, my July couples. Because
ahead of it. I was thinking the same.
Yeah, you need to be ahead of it. And also you need to have, as a business, it's reasonable for people to expect that you would have policies, that you're not just shooting from your hips. So if you have not yet decided what are my my policies when it comes to rescheduling and stuff like that, and figured them out and figured out a way to communicate them to clients, you need to. And the other thing for me is so basically my policy is I'm allowing people, if their wedding is disrupted due to COVID-19, I'm allowing people to reschedule to any available date through April of 2021. Mm-hmm. So any date that I have open through April of 2021, you got it. Dibs will just transfer you right on over. If you want to go beyond April of 2021, you have two options. You can choose a Friday or a Sunday, and there's no penalty for rescheduling, or you can pay $1,500 rescheduling fee, because I can't sacrifice half a year's income by rescheduling my 2020 dates to prime 2021 dates. And that's exactly how it's
possibly a whole year.
Yeah, exactly. but that's exactly how I explain it to my clients too. It's just like, I can't afford to lose, half a year's income by rescheduling to prime 2020 or 2021 dates. And so I'm trying to think of a way to be fair to myself and also fair to my clients. And this is the best thing I've come up with.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's really important to have policies in place. And then the other thing I'm asking clients to do is if they're rescheduling very far away. So like if they're rescheduling a May wedding to November or to next March or whatever, I'm saying, could you please still pay your, I'm not saying, can you please, I'm saying another part of my policy is you pay your balance as it was originally due, not a month before the new wedding date, but as it was originally due. And that just makes sense to me because we all schedule our years so that we have income coming in throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously this is unprecedented. No one expected any of this to happen, but I still need to have some income security throughout the year or else I'm not going to make it to March to photograph your wedding. And luckily, I think it's all about expressing these things to your clients in a way that allows them to understand your humanity and understand that, like, yes, I'm a business, but I'm also a person. And all of my clients have been extremely understanding of like all of this. I had one client who said, who pushed back a little bit. And I said, how about you pay half of your remaining balance? Because their remaining balance was going to be basically like due the next week. And they rescheduled to November and they were just like, we still feel kind of nervous about everything that's going on. So I was like, how about we split it in two and you pay half of it now and half of it a month before the new date. And they were completely happy with that.
One thing that I love about that, and something that we're really protective of, is we do set policies and we have our rules already kind of in place for something like this, but just in general in our business. But then I run this thing. And so if I want to make a consideration, because it's humanity and human beings are complicated, and if someone comes, I've literally had people come to me and say, we've got a lot of wedding payments due right now. Is there any way that I can pay? And the answer is just like, okay, cool. Do you want to pay like half of the balance that is due like today, and then pay me in 2 weeks? That's fine. That's not going to impact me.
Yeah.
But technically that's breaking the rules, but that's humanity.
Yeah. And for me, like, I like to have my rules and I like to stick with them. But if someone makes it easy for me to break the rules, like if they're coming to me, like it would be one, if a client emailed me and said, I don't think this is fair and I think it's wrong of you to ask us to pay this now. And I, like it's unethical. And they were like accusing me of basically being a bad actor by having this policy, I would not budge. I'd be like, sorry, Stonewall fucking Jackson here. You can find a new photographer for your date if you want. Because I'm technically not, I'm not required to move your retainer to a new date regardless of anything. I'm doing it because obviously this is an unprecedented scenario. And so it's kind of one of those things where it's like, I am in all aspects of my life, not just my business, my personal life, my romantic life, everything. Reciprocity is very important to me, to feel like if I am scratching someone's back, if my back itches, knowing that they will scratch mine as well. And so that's how I think of it, is like, hey, I'm making this as easy as possible on you as I can to reschedule. Like, can you just make sure I can have pay my mortgage? That would be really cool too, because this is what I do for a living. So your money is how I pay my mortgage. Yes, exactly. And so, but I haven't had any of that. I haven't had any, of that more, I don't know. I've had friends who've had some nasty interactions with clients regarding rescheduling, but one of the things I really pride myself on is being able to craft a great fucking email. And so the initial email that I sent out to my clients, I posted it in we have a small group for referrals. I posted it for everyone. I was like, this is what I'm sending to my clients. Feel free to, take the wording and tweak it if you want to. I sent it to a few of my friends who I knew were probably dealing with the same thing. Hey, this is what I've got written up, take it. Just because, communication is not everyone's strong suits. And especially sometimes creatives are not great at communication, because they're creatives, they want to take the pretty pictures and stuff like that. And that's fantastic. But communication is a really big part of, and it's what when I do get taken to conferences. I speak on customer service and communication. So like, I don't want to be like, I'm an expert on this, but at the same time, I'm like, I got flown to Rome to speak about this shit. So obviously I know where I'm from. And so yeah, making sure that that initial email is just like crafted in a way that was compassionate and expressed understanding for what all of these clients are going through, whose plans that they've had for a long time are suddenly being disrupted and turned upside down. Like, man, what a shitty fucking thing that they are going through,
Right.
you know? And remembering that, but also remembering like, hey, this might also be really hard on me. So I need to make sure that I'm understanding and I'm compassionate about these people, but that I'm not also martyring myself and my business, you know, in order to, you know, make everything okay for them. Because if shit is not okay for me, then I am not going to be okay when it's time for me to shoot their wedding. So like you know, finding ways to balance those two things for sure. But I'm gearing up this week to send out emails to July brides, because I, as of right now, do not believe that we will be rescheduling July weddings. I think weddings will be able to happen in July. Or I should say, I'm very much hoping, and I'm knocking on wood and all that sort of stuff. But still, if I had a wedding in July, I would kind of want to know what was up, you know? And so I would just kind of want to feel reassured that, hey, if this does have to be moved, it's going to be okay, you know? And so I think that's really what it's all about, is just, you know, and just letting people know like, hey, this is going to be a little extra hurdle in your wedding planning that no one could have predicted, and it's going to suck, but at the end of the day, like, it's going to be okay. Like, it's
Heather,
going to be fine.
how do you feel about communicating with everybody for the year? Because I know that like we reached out to the people that have been affected so far. We jumped early on some of those. We had one couple reach out to us early. My plan was Monday. Like I've got a formal letter written, like a nice, compassionate, well worded, legible letter sent to send to my entire client base for the year. I'm torn now because my other thought is like, I don't want to scare anybody. And maybe the answer is to just make sure that there's like a place at the top, because you know you write something out and you're like, to whom it may concern, but then you're writing one, maybe leaving like a block up top that's like modifiable for each couple. I mean, like, this probably won't affect you, which you're not going to say, you know, to your really early couples, but you would definitely say to, like,
I would not be saying to my June clients, this would not affect you, but
hold on. I'm going to interrupt myself and you and say that as I'm saying that, I'm remembering that I did just get off the phone last night with an October couple, though the reason they were communicating was because their engagement shoot is like in 3 weeks. And so that was one that I had overlooked, because my date for them is in my calendar for October.
Oh yeah.
And I had like, I know that their engagement is coming up, but I had not put 2 and 2 together of like global pandemic and probably don't come up to Northern Michigan for your engagement shoot.
Yeah.
I hate to say this, but fall respike is sort of a thing that people are talking about.
Yep.
I have a couple that was getting married on June 6th, and they're both doctors, and they thought about maybe going October, and they said, no, there's probably going to be a fall respike of this due to the models or whatever. And so, so this definitely could affect the full year. One thing that I've noted is like the first email I sent out has already drastically changed to now. Like I wasn't even thinking about charging for Saturdays next year when I sent out my first email. So like, I wonder how that's going to look a little further into the season. You know what I mean? But
if it were me, to answer your original question about like reaching out to the whole year, I would take it in stages. I would have that email, and I would right now send it to July and August. And then I would probably wait until May to send it to September and October. Because my thought is, you know, my September and October brides right now are probably feeling pretty good and are not too stressed and are thinking that everything is going to be okay. And maybe it will be, but maybe it won't be. But my thought is, I don't want to be the first thing that makes them start stressing about that.
That's a good point.
So I want to wait and see. I kind of like, that's, you know, get out ahead of it. Like, especially initially when I was like, they're about to shut, like when they shut Italy down, I was like, our asses are getting shut down because our government is not like, it would be really cool to trust the government right now, but I don't. And so, oh my God, I have like family members who trust the government and I'm like, that must feel amazing. That must feel incredible. Could you imagine how nice that would feel if you just
Open by Easter.
Oh my God.
That's
wish.
Saturday. Well, why are we
Yeah.
even having this discussion? We're going to be
I
open
know,
at sunset tomorrow. Oh,
We're good tomorrow.
hey, Mike, do you want to get together, go to the bar?
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's not good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
do this.
Yeah. It's just, I can't even, it must be like sliding in a hot bath. It must just feel so comforting, so
Your
comfortable.
worldview just must be so comforting.
Yeah, damn. Just, you trust it. Wow, that's nice. What's that like? Anyways, but I knew when I saw Italy getting shut down and stuff like that, I was like, that'll definitely happen here because we're not going to be nearly as good. We're not nearly as collectivist as a society as these other societies are. So basically, it's going to spread here faster because people are not going to take their individual responsibility as seriously as they do in more communal societies and stuff. Anyways, I'm diverging into politics now, which I did not mean to do.
I love it. Don't worry about it.
But point being, I would send emails out in stages, and probably I'd probably hold off on contacting September and October brides until we know more. I mean, we're definitely probably not 10 to 12 months away from a vaccine now, just because one of the things that I learned over this process is you can test vaccines and find out, yes, it works. And yes, these people are immune now. Isn't that great? But you have to wait a long time to make sure that like that person didn't grow an extra arm.
Yep.
So it's like just finding the vaccine that works is half of it. The thing that makes vaccines take so long is like, we just got to make sure that this doesn't grow extra arms or whatever. Yeah. And so, yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, this is not going to be, I mean, the only things that will make this normal are a vaccine and then widespread testing and contact tracing. Yeah, which other countries are starting to do really well.
See, Apple and Google came out with some software today.
Yeah, for contact tracing. Yeah,
that's fascinating. It is. If you are worried about being tracked by your phone, you should now be concerned about that. But in terms of a global pandemic, that is great technology.
Yeah. Yes.
Technology.
I have like 5 Amazon Echoes throughout my house. My cell phone is always within like earshot of me and everything like that. Because I'm just like, my life is not like, I wish someone would spend some time looking into what I going on. What a glorious waste of government money that would be. Like seriously. And so like, I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Jeff Bezos can hear everything I say. Sometimes I get advertisements for stuff where I'm like, I did need that. Thank you for spying on me and letting me know. Because like, I just think it's funny because like my boyfriend is like the complete opposite when it comes to all of this. And then I'm just like, no, I love it when it gives me the tailored advertisement. Whereas he's like Ron Swanson beating down the drone, in Parks and Recreation or whatever. So yeah, but contact tracing, all for it. As soon as they're like, we'll give you a microchip and you can just have a cell phone in your head and you just answer it by pressing your nose, I'll be like, sign me up. Sounds great. What's up?
You know Elon Musk is working on that right now, right?
Great. Fantastic. Sign me up.
It was supposed to be out by this fall.
Yeah, I'm just like, I feel like the privacy genie is so far fucking out of the bottle. You're kidding yourself if you think that you have any privacy.
I hate to say I agree because I totally do. I mean, there are limits, I'm sure, that I would not go past. But can any of us really say that we would give up Google Maps? Because that's what it would take. You have to give up the ability for your phone to know where you are and where you're going, and none of us are going to give that up. I don't know where I live. I don't know where the coffee shop is down the street. I say, go to the place, and it just goes there for me.
Yeah. Are you going to go back to printing out MapQuest instructions? Like, who can afford the fucking printer ink? You know what I mean? God. Like, yeah. And so.
I'm sure I can technically read a map still. I'm sure technically I can read a map.
But
you have to pull over.
Yeah. it's just like that genie's so far out of the bottle that I think anyone who thinks that they have any privacy, unless they're like literally living like on top of a mountain off the grid and shitting in a hole, that guy might have some privacy. But I don't want to hang out with
No,
him.
someone's digging up that shit and tracking it to figure out what his nutrient levels are. Okay,
That's true.
refocusing. Do you
Yes.
believe there is going to be any long-term impacts from this on the industry? And the question comes from listening to Dr. Fauci talk today, talking about how basically he thinks that our culture is going to have to move away from ever shaking hands again. People are going to want to live. I mean, basically what they do in Southeast Asia, where, you know, people, you know, there's like, you know, bowing instead of shaking hands, and people just wear masks if they don't feel well, like all the time. And I'm wondering from a photography perspective, if we're going to see, and some of these are good ideas, right? Like one of the things that, like, just even these quarantine calls that we've been doing, this is something that I had wanted to do for a while, and we just had the community go, hey, this is a good idea. Let's do this now. So good ideas are going to come out of this, and I'm going here because I want this to end on like a more positive note. I wonder if anybody has any insights on speculations for things that could come out of this that could be, you know, good for our industry, good for our craft.
I honestly don't think that. I think culturally things will shift, but I think the culture of weddings because like when I hear like, oh, people shouldn't be shaking hands and stuff like that, it's like, I think still at like, what's the equivalent of that at a wedding? When you're at a wedding, for the most part, you're already in there's selection bias at a wedding.
Mm-hmm.
You already know these people, or if you don't know them, you know they know the people that you know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's already an in-group kind of dynamic when you're at a wedding. So basically, like, I don't think hugs are going to go away at weddings, is like what I think of to be like, people are still going to hug. You're still going to hug your cousin from Georgia when you see them and stuff like that. For now, while we're doing social distancing, don't hug anyone. No one hug anyone. But
I'm going to hug myself. I'm just hugging me.
No hugging. But it was
the
so
other t-shirt you need to make.
Yeah, it was really weird because like a few days before we went on the stay-at-home orders, I drove up to the town where my dad lives to buy a gun, which is like hilarious. Like, but at the same time, I live alone in the city of Detroit. And a quarter of our police force was quarantined. Not like I trust the cops anyway, but still, quarter of our police force is quarantined. So I was like, maybe I should just maybe just a little gun, maybe just have a little gun. And so, but I drove up, my dad works at a hardware store. That's where I bought the gun and stuff like that. But it was like weird when I left because I didn't get close to him. I didn't close to anyone. So I was also wary of the fact that like, given I'm self-employed, so like social distancing, it's like, I eat this for fucking breakfast.
Right.
But when I was like saying goodbye to my dad, we're like saying goodbye from 8 feet apart, and I was like, I just looked at him. I was like, I'm not hugging you. And I left. And it was weird, but it's like, I'm looking forward to, you know, the day where we can hug with somewhat without all the baggage attached to it and stuff like that. But I think the only long-term effects it might have on our business is that there might be a recession next year and we might all need to lower our prices a little skitch. But other than that, I don't, you know, people are I think especially when all of this is over, people are going to want to gather, like, you know, and see their loved ones and be together with them, you know, even more so. So
I agree 100%. I am curious. One of the other reasons I brought it up is I have a theory that we're going to see a ton of people eloping or just having like really small or more intimate weddings. Instead of 250 people in a room, you're going to see 35 people in a room. And I'm wondering if that's going to end up being more of a norm because of this. As people go to a wedding where it's 35 people and they love every single person at that wedding and they didn't give in, and like that weird uncle or that weird dad's friend from California who is like kind of weird anyway. Like, I don't even know this guy. Why is he coming? That's a real story.
Because the parents,
father-in-law is a weird dude from California. He was fine. It's whatever. But I wouldn't be surprised to find that becomes more of a trend. I have no data on this. This is just me talking.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's necessarily a terrible thing. I think we're already seeing that trend happening anyway. But I don't know. I definitely agree that people, like, the second this ends, I think either people are going to be like just ready to have that damn wedding, or B, people that were like maybe thinking about proposing to each other will have done it during this, and then they're going to be like, let's just go elope, like right now.
Yeah. I think there's already I I don't necessarily think that we will see. I think people who are already predisposed towards having a smaller wedding but weren't doing it for whatever social pressure, this will be their reason for being able to do that. But I think there are all, and I always like, I hate that there is social pressure around weddings. Like, I hate that people just don't get to have, like, sometimes just don't get to have the wedding that they want because you have to consider other people's feelings. But especially if you're like, I am a big fan of everyone just paying for their own damn weddings, because then you don't have to consider anyone's fucking feelings but your own. But still, I think like, I think maybe this will give people, the people who already wanted to have a small wedding, it will just give them a little bit of extra ammo in terms of like sharing what their reasoning is for wanting that or whatever. But I still think there's still going to be people who, you know, from the time they were young, imagined like a big wedding with all of their family and their friends and stuff like that there. So, you know, we might see a slight uptick in that, but I don't think we're suddenly going to see a massive swing in the industry towards elopements or anything like that. I still think, I think it will just give the people who already wanted that a little bit of validation.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the people who want to have a fucking rager are still going to have a rager, you know? And so yeah, but just because I think for the most part, human beings are so willing to just balance back to comfort and normalcy.
Yeah.
And so like, you know, like, and so I am really just viewing this as kind of like a, you know, like when this doesn't happen anymore because we're all streaming, but like when TV goes to static for 3 minutes and then it just comes back up and you're just 3 minutes further into the TV show you were watching or whatever. Like that's what I think will probably happen, with maybe a brief period of like, what's going on with the economy? Oh no. And then things will get kind of, but at the same time, global warming and these kinds of things are only going to happen more and more as wildlife is under more stress, because the more stress you put wildlife under, the more likely they are to have to deal with viruses. So, you know, at the end of the day, capitalism is the real virus and all that good stuff. But yeah, so hopefully this isn't the first in a string of pandemics, but considering we're putting the entire planet under extreme amount of stress, and the more that, yeah. So it could be a massive paradigm shift, or it could just all go right back. I'm kind of on board for paradigm shift, but I just don't think I also don't have faith in humanity.
I don't know. I'm
or
torn.
the government.
I think you're right. Step one. I mean, you even listen to the language we're talking about, right? So how many times have you heard, I can't wait till this is over and I can give you a hug, right? Like that's people that in that language is, when this is done, I'm going back to the thing that I was already doing. Great.
Yeah.
That's perfect. But yeah, I also, again, you know, I'm a ridiculous optimist, and I would love to see some like really cool, unique, positive trends come out of this, where people are more conscientious, or I mean, I don't know, I follow a lot of ridiculously like just call it like bleeding heart liberal news, and I've seen a lot of articles that post you know, this is a model for how we can fix climate change. I mean, if worst case scenario, to save the world, we take like half a month a year or a month and a half each year, and we all just kind of like hang out on Animal Crossing. I mean, I always have to temper my language, because I know that like people are actually like harmed by this. People have died from this. This is not a joke, but my way to, coming back to our beginning, right? My way to navigate through the world is to make light of things that are painful. And I have this nut of anxiety in my tummy that I don't like, makes me feel icky, and I get rid of it. I pulverize it by like making stupid jokes about this and
Yeah.
talking with friends about how we can, fix the world. So if we have to, hang out in a tree fort and quarantine once a month or once a year for a few days to kind of shut down the economy and shut down industry, maybe that'd be great. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not an economist.
The
It
truth is,
might wreck the world.
the thing that's really scary about global warming is that it's not a problem of consumers. It's not a problem of you and I as individuals. It's a problem of industry. If you look at what's actually contributing to global warming, it's not even the assholes driving around in their Hummers. It's just like the same 12 companies that have been making shit and massively polluting like for decades. And like those oligarchs, those capitalists, I would hope that this would make them give a fuck, but
Probably not.
they like to instead, like, if we're all yelling at one another for using straws and no one's going, hold on a minute, what's ExxonMobil up to? And so that's the I am a ridiculous optimist about individual humans, but I do not have faith in humanity, and I should say more like I do not have faith in the upper. I think power and money are corrupting, and so I want to have faith, but at the same time, I do hear that a guillotine costs about $1,200 to make, so that's something to consider. So
that's an interesting precise amount of money. All right, ready? one more big screen wipe and change topics. I want to talk about. I want to leave on like talking about Midwest Gathering because one of my and let's not worry about like whether rescheduling is a thing or when it's happening. We'll talk in generalities. We'll talk in drag queen dollar bills and not about scheduling stuff. But one of my hopes in building this like photography community is I want to elevate like the photography education community, and specifically like starting with Northern Michigan, but bringing it to like the Midwest in general. And I just want my friends, my people, to know about your thing because I had a hell of a good time, and the only like incredible workshops before that I had been to had been like primarily been out on the West Coast or like the South, and to see that in my backyard, only 5 hours away, is incredible and needs to continue. So if you want to, I'm just going to let you kind of ramble and talk and rant about Midwest Gathering for as long as you want.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge part of why we did it. It's just because like workshops happen in like Palm Springs, end of list. No, like, but that's really like how it feels a lot of times. It's just like, oh, another workshop in Joshua Tree. Cool. That's really going to be useful to me living in Muskegon. Like you go to these, workshops in like, the desert, and you have models and it's styled, and you take the most beautiful photographs you've ever taken in your career, and you leave there thinking you're hot shit. But then at the end of the day, you got to go back to Petoskey, and so like.
That's why I went to one until Midwest Gathering.
Yes, exactly. And so I like, also, I just like, I live in Detroit. I have a huge, I care about this city. I think this city has so much to like, just, I don't know. It's just like a beautiful city. It's a place that I'm very inspired by and stuff like that. And I think it's a place that's very misunderstood, and a place that like most people, even people I know who live an hour outside of the city, like when I went to the hardware store to buy my gun, my dad was like, yeah, this is my daughter, Heather. She's up from Detroit. She lives down there. And this one woman in the hardware store went, why? Like, why would you live in Detroit? And I want to be like, bitch, because I can go get fucking pho. What are you eating here in Yale, Michigan, now that the Coney Island shut down? And so like, anyways, but I was just like, I just didn't say anything. But doing something that I think was able to put a positive image of Detroit out there. We were not unstrategic and saying, hey, how do we get a bunch of people who are image creators, they're photographers, into this city and get them photographing this city in a way that it is, because typically the way Detroit has been photographed through the decades is like, I'm going to come into this city, I'm going to take some photos of some burnt out factories, I'm going to take some photos of some broken glass and some puddles, I'm going to put it together in my fucking coffee table book and call it like a city forgotten, and then I'm going to sell it for $49.95 at Barnes and Nobles or whatever. And to me, it's like, yeah, you can come to Detroit and take those photographs, but they're so boring. And it like the last thing the world needs is another coffee table book of like burnt out factories in Detroit. Like, come on, think
Remember
of
the
something
term
new.
disaster porn that was getting thrown around for a while?
Yes, it is. It is disaster porn. I really think it, because like at the end of the day, like, you know, hundreds of people used to work in that factory and now their jobs are fucking gone. You know, like that's what you're actually photographing. And you're not photographing like the real human side of that. You're just like, wow, look at this beautiful ruin, you know? And it's just like, yeah, look, like, and so we really wanted to do something in a part of the country that like we thought was ready for it, because there's not much like that going on there. There's some things like, I think Shutterfest is in the Midwest and stuff, but they're kind of a bit more corporate and stuff like that. We wanted something that felt really curated and really stylized, and basically like the Midwest deserves to have cool photography conferences too.
Yeah.
Like we deserve to have our fucking tote bags and our vintage furniture conferences and our, you know, all of that kind of stuff. And so yeah. And then the other reason why we did Midwest Gathering, and it's something that I'm hesitant to talk about as a white woman, but our first year, our lineup was 50% people of color, 50% women, 25% LGBTQ. Our second year, our lineup is 50% color, 50% women, only 12.5% gay this year. We're a little less gay this year, which I'm sad to say, but still 12.5.
Yeah, just win.
It's just win. It's just win this year. I think Jen will like make out with a girl if you get her drunk enough, but that doesn't count. And so Jen will laugh at that joke if she watches this later. But yeah, so but that was a big motivator for me, and it was just because I saw so many photography conferences that were just like the same 7 white dudes and the one lady, and sometimes I was the one lady. You know, honestly, like sometimes I was the one lady at the conference, you know, and so I just kind of got fed up with that. And for like 3 years, I would like rant about it on Facebook and be like, why aren't these conferences being more representative? Why are we like, you know, just ignoring wide swaths of our industries if they don't have anything to contribute? And people would be like, well, if you don't like it, then why don't you start your own? I'd be like, no, the industry should care about this on a whole. And why isn't this? And then after like 3 years of that, I was like, fine, I will. I was like, really? Like, and so there's a little bit of a spite motivation in it as well. But yeah, but really it was just about, like things just came together in a way where, and also Megan came to me and wanted to do, and there's no way I would be doing this without her. I don't ever want to make a spreadsheet, and she makes all the spreadsheets. I don't even know our accountant's name. I'm not kidding. I don't know the name of the accountant for Midwest. I assume they're doing a good job. I know we have one. I don't fucking know their name. Megan does.
I love that.
And like,
I love that so much.
Yeah, like thank God for Megan. Like I feel she does not want any. She probably was like loved by her parents, so like she doesn't need to get on stage and make. That's a joke. My parents love me, but whatever. So she doesn't need to get on stage and make a bunch of jokes like I do at Midwest Gathering, and like she is not into that at all. And so like it's hard to find ways to like give her as much glory as she deserves. Like I did call her out several times and be like, everyone who's thanking me should definitely be thanking Megan because she actually paid for this. You know, it's like, because I would have just been like, yeah, I don't know. And so she's just like, she is like keeping this thing functioning, and, you know,
You
everything
did
like
a
that.
really good job of hyping her up, for somebody who
Good.
did not want to be hyped. Because I left there going
She-
like, this was a 50-50 thing, even though you talked
Yeah.
most of it.
Yeah, I was like up on stage, like making jokes, having a good time, and Megan was like, "We need fucking toilet paper." Like, and so,
She was ahead of the game.
yeah, like literally, there was like a point in time. She told me later. She was like, "Yeah, there was a point in time where like I couldn't figure out where the toilet paper was, and I couldn't get a hold of the guy who owns the venue." And I was like, I had no idea that was going on. She's like, "Yeah, I know. I didn't want you to be worried about it." And I was just like, "This is why you're my business partner." I always
We
introduce
all
her.
need
And I was
somebody
like,
like that in our lives. I know
Yeah.
I need somebody.
I always introduce her. I'm like, this is my business partner, Megan, and she's the most beautiful woman in the world, because I don't know if you've looked at her, but like, what's going on there? Like, seriously, like,
Not
how
just
is,
because she knows the accountant's name.
yeah, no, she's just literally actually like one of the most beautiful women in the world. It's like, and the annoying thing is that she's nice too. It's like, come on, just be like a bitch or something. Like, just be like, can you like, it's so annoying. Like Megan's not very funny, but that's because she doesn't have to be, because she's beautiful and nice. You know, like she's funny enough to laugh at my jokes, which is what matters.
Yeah.
Like she's got a good enough sense of humor to know that I'm funny, so I'm okay with it. But yeah, but
Clearly the bar, right? Understands
Yeah.
that Heather is funny is
Yeah.
the bar. Oh,
that's so. Did you lose power? What happened?
no. I have like a little studio light that I stupidly left on battery instead of the other one. Hold on.
Okay, while
That's
you
fine.
do this, I have one issue that I want to kind of bring up, because like as I created the same sort of protocol for next year, as if you want a Saturday, it's either like 20
Yeah.
or 30%, depending on what time of year, fee. But if you want a Friday or Sunday, those are open.
Yeah.
What about thinking about the flooding of 2020 clients into next year's, wedding?
Yeah. Workflow.
What if a lot of those, we're forcing a lot of those clients into Fridays and Saturdays by giving them this fee option, and they want to dodge it by getting a Friday or Sunday, but then legit 2021 clients also having to choose Fridays or Sundays because it may be such a busy wedding year, since this year might be light.
Oh,
Are we cheating ourselves out of business by, you know what I mean, pushing people to Fridays and Sundays when
no matter what happens, we are going to be cheated out of business. Like that's just how this is going to work.
Yeah.
go apply for the SBA loans, basically?
Oh,
I'm-
100%. Take advantage of
I'm-
every single opportunity that you have at your disposal.
Yeah.
Like, the government
I
wants to
mean-
give you money, take it.
Yeah.
Get your fucking unemployment. They're just gonna spend it on war anyway. So it's your money. You might as well get it back.
I agree.
And so, but I think I could understand that being an issue, especially if you are the type of business where like you work every weekend and you are maximizing your calendar and stuff like that. For me,
Sure.
since my goal is between 20 and 25 weddings a year, I think I'm still easily going to be able to reach 20 to 25 new bookings, even with having to move some of my 2020 weddings there.
Sure.
But I think that's going to depend on your business and how you have it set up and how you run it. And yeah, some people who really do a lot of quantity in terms of numbers of weddings and stuff like that,
Yeah.
they're going to have a little bit of a harder time because, maybe they were already, or like people who, specialize in shooting like Indian weddings and stuff like that, where it's like 3-day events and stuff like that. This is going to be a different thing that they're going to have to navigate and stuff like that. There's definitely no one size fits all solution for this. I know that for the way my business is set up, I'm not yet pessimistic about my ability to, and at the end of the day, if all I can do in 2020 is just continue to save my bills or pay my bills and, have a somewhat good lifestyle, but maybe I'm not throwing money towards my retirement or taking big trips or something like that. Maybe in 2021, I'm having a little bit more of a lean year. Like if you can't, you should be able to, if you can't sustain a lean year, then your lifestyle, you're living outside of your means already. And that's something that you should look at, because like I live well within my means. It's like, kind of always been my goal, just because I am self-employed. So I don't always know what my means is going to be.
Right.
And so yeah. So I think, just be ready for maybe a little bit more of a lean year. The good thing is everyone's learning how to cook now.
Yeah.
You know? I'm so shocked at how many like people who are just actual fucking adults don't know, like did not know how to cook and were so freaked out. I'm like, what do y'all do? Like, learn to cook. Like, learn to.
Did you hear that
like,
Kraft had to like triple their output for like macaroni and cheese?
I'm not fucking surprised. I'm not at all. It's just like, dude, like, feed yourself. Like, at the end of the day, if you can't start a fire or feed yourself, you're a pretty shitty human. Like, because early on, that was all like, find caves, start fire, cook. You know, like that was like all that was all you had to do to be a human. And like, you need to make sure even now in these comfy, cozy days that you can still like find caves, start fire, cook, you know, like those are the things that you really at the end of the day need to be able to do. And so yeah, so.
Wedding bookings are always so random anyways. Every year is so different from the last that like, nothing we can do to predict it. I just thought that like past as I'm like trying to push clients to Fridays and Sundays, and not even if they pick a Saturday, that's fine. I just want to, you know, get some sort of fee for it. But
I think like, I already don't like shooting. The thing that I'm bummed out about is like, I already don't like shooting a lot of double headers. And sometimes if I already have a wedding on a Saturday and I get a Sunday inquiry, I might send them a little bit more expensive pricing just because I don't want to shoot a double header. And so the thing that I'm bummed out is like, oh, I'm gonna have to shoot a bunch of double headers and my back's gonna hurt real bad. It's like literally like that's the thing that's like, and like at the end of the day, if that's the thing that's making me most anxious, then I'm probably kind of okay. I can start working on my core now and, you know, getting my lower back in shape, and I can just, you know, maybe go see my masseuse Shaka Bloodsaw a little bit more often next year or something. I literally get massages from a man who's named Shaka Bloodsaw, and he is amazing.
I love
it. If he started a cult, I'd be like, I'm in. What are we doing, Shaka? Let's go. Yeah, he's great. But I think it's, for me and for my business, that does not concern me, but I can see people who do a lot more volume, that being a concern for them. And especially people who are like, who run studios where they have multiple associates and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's like, just kind of start mentally preparing yourself now for the fact that 2021 might be like a lean year. And maybe instead of going on vacation, you know, somewhere nice, you go somewhere where you're visiting family. My AirPods are losing their power, so my audio might get really shitty soon. Just FYI.
It's okay. We're probably reaching the end anyway. It's
perfect.
It's been 1:40. So,
oh God.
Does anybody have any questions they wanna ask before we kind of like roll on out? Nobody. I did want to say we already, like, I introduced, like, okay, Heather, you know Mike, you know me.
Yes.
You met Christian, and the only person I didn't say hi to was Hannah. So Hannah,
I said
say
hi.
Hi.
Hannah.
What's your cat's name? That was my question.
His name is Comet.
Aw. I like how he's just peeking over your shoulder right now. He's like, what's up?
Yeah, he really likes Zoom calls.
He's pretending like he's not paying attention, but he totally is.
Like he's like a little cat meme over your shoulder.
Now he's really
notes on the wedding industry right now.
He is just kind of staring us down.
Well, I have to say, I felt really weird about getting on here with my hair like this, because this was just like a quarantine thing to do. Just like, let's get weird. I'm not shooting a wedding for a while, but I don't know. I kind of feel normal.
No, I kind of like it.
Yeah.
It's okay. I used to have a really cute pixie cut, and my hair's turning into a mullet. So
you gotta do what you gotta do in quarantine. Just take some scissors to it.
I'm tempted.
I've already seen a lot of clients and other people I know on social media just like giving themselves haircuts, their partner giving them haircuts, and like, this is not going to look good.
Yeah,
these ends are roasted. I needed like 2 inches cut off of my hair before this shit started because I fry it, and so part of me is like, do I just do it myself? But that's just the boredom talking.
Brooke keeps offering to cut my hair, and it's It was short for a bit, and then it keeps getting longer, and I don't know how long it is because it just stays back right now. But I love her. I don't trust her to cut my hair.
That's fair.
Can I backcomb it once this is all over? Let me backcomb some dreadlocks.
What is it? What is back comb?
That's how white people get dreadlocks.
Oh, it literally like combing backwards.
Yeah, you take a blob of hair and you just like,
Is they
comb
just
it back and make dreadlocks.
Heather, you're gone. You're
Oh.
like 1,000% echo.
oh, hold on.
When you're that close to the camera, I can totally hear you.
So I'm gonna come over. I'm gonna take
Can
a
I
clump
just do
of your
this?
hair,
I'll
I'm
just
gonna
be
make
like
it
Wilson from
going until you have all dreadlocks, and I think that'd be great.
yeah.
You're saying Wilson from Home Improvement?
Yeah, that's my
I haven't
joke.
heard anybody make that reference in like 100,000 years.
Oh, I'll do some deep cuts. Don't you worry.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do the rest of the call like this.
Yeah.
Does anybody got anything else they want to talk about before I make
If
us be
anyone is
done?
on YouTube watching this and they made it to this point,
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
We should say something weird here and make them comment.
The birds work for the bourgeoisie.
That's true. I thought you were gonna say something weird. Isn't that just true? You know, birds aren't real, right?
You know, have you heard that TikTok audio where he's like, Ronald Reagan killed all the birds and replaced them with spy drones?
Yeah, you know about the birds aren't real.
Yeah, they work for the bourgeoisie.
I love it.
Mhm.
We should. I love the idea that should be a running theme here. That none of us believe birds are real. I'm into
Mhm.
that. Okay, it's canon now.
It is not canon. Birds are fake.
oh, by the way, CPS, Canon CPS, if you're a member and wanted to send in your gear during all this time of quarantine and no shooting, I think all but one of them are open, like Vermont or Virginia is open or something. Have you guys been reading those emails?
No.
I shoot
Well, I
night.
definitely need to get my gear cleaned, and this seemed like the greatest time, but I'm glad I waited because like they all shut down. I guess they're gonna be flooded right before wedding season actually starts, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
It's super easy to clean your own sensor. If you they make these little things that are like these sticky things on a pole, and you just kind of like poke the sticky thing on the center, and you use this little magnifying like loop thing that you put over the, and so if you've never done it, your girl is cheap, and I don't like paying other people to do things that I know I can do. And so if you're afraid of cleaning your own sensor, try it out on one of your, like the old bodies that you have just sitting around and you're not actually shooting with anymore first. But it's not as hard or as scary as you think it is. You can clean your own damn sensor.
Right on.
You know,
That's
waste
good to know.
your business more lean for next year. Yeah.
I also don't like sending my gear in. I don't like being without it, even though I'm just, working off of backups or something. But every time I send it in, freaks me out. What's that?
I gotta go watch the baby.
That's okay. We should probably be done anyway.
The other kid woke up. Good to
This
see
was
you guys. Love you
Bye, guys. Thank you, Heather.
Bye. This
Was
was
a
See ya,
pleasure.
everyone.
Bye. Bye, Christian. I miss you.
See ya. Miss you. Say hi to Brooke.
Bye, Hannah.
Bye.
bye comment.